Welcome to the second episode of our podcast's 5th season. Scary but true campfire stories brought to you by Dudes Camping. Our goal is to share true stories of strange, supernatural, ghostly, and unexplained as we gather around the virtual campfire. In 2002, during the war in Afghanistan, a patrol just vanished without any communication. Red flags went up with the U.S. military, and they sent out a special operations team to recover any evidence and hopefully the American troops involved. What the special ops team discovered was not enemy combatants waiting to ambush them, but something far older and far deadlier. The legend seemed to first gain traction in 2008 on paranormal radio broadcasts, and the story was originally featured in L.A. Marzulli's The Watchers documentary series number 10, but was an interview with an eyewitness. Skeptics claim that there are no official records and all the visuals are fabricated, but since Marzulli broke the story in 2016, several other witnesses have come out with similar but not exact stories. And with the advent of AI-generated photos and videos, we are now seeing people trying to get internet fame by posting disinformation. These fakes should not distract from the eyewitness accounts and L.A. Marzulli's diligent fieldwork on this subject. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Giant of Kandahar. It was the summer of 2002. A year into the war in Afghanistan. Operation Enduring Freedom, they called it. I was part of a 6-man special ops team deployed in a remote part of Kandahar, tasked with recovering another American patrol that had just vanished somewhere in the mountains of Kandahar. They hadn't called for help. They hadn't radioed an emergency. They had simply just disappeared. Intel gave us their last known coordinates, and before sunrise we were climbing through steep cliffs and narrow passes where even goats struggled to find footing. It was the kind of place where sound carried for miles, yet everything around us felt unnaturally quiet. The heat was oppressive, the terrain was unforgiving, and every step felt like walking through a field of eyes, being watched by unseen enemies. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared us for what we were about to encounter. "Something's out there," Corporal Jensen muttered. His eyes were scanning the dusky landscape. I remember giving him a nod, feeling the unease settle in my stomach like a stone. We tightened our formation and proceeded with heightened vigilance. Nobody talked much. Something just didn't feel right. After several hours, we found the first piece of evidence. It was a rifle. It was lying in the middle of the trail as if someone had simply dropped it. 20 yards farther, we found a helmet, then another pack. Torn web gear hung from thorn bushes. Body armor had been ripped apart like heavy canvas. We searched the area, and there were drag marks leading uphill, but there were no bodies, no blood. It didn't make any sense. We followed the trail until it ended at the mouth of a cave hidden beneath a massive rock overhang. A foul odor poured out of the darkness, like something had been living there for a very long time. I still remember the smell before I remember the fear. Then I noticed the footprints. They weren't boot prints. They weren't animal tracks. They were enormous footprints. Each one was almost twice the length of my boot. Our point man raised his fist. Everyone froze. Then we heard it. A deep growl echoed from inside the cave, low enough that I felt it more than heard it. The sound was so guttural and deep, it seemed to vibrate in my chest. We froze, every sense strained to its limit. The sound came again, closer this time. It was a mix between a growl and a bellow. A second later, something stepped into the sunlight. For a moment, my brain refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. It had to be 12, maybe 15 feet tall. Its shoulders nearly filled the cave entrance. The biggest man I'd ever seen. Except it only resembled a man, I couldn't grasp what I was looking at. Long reddish hair hung past its shoulders. A thick beard covered its face. Its skin was pale with a strange reddish tint, weathered like old leather. Then I looked at its hands. 6 fingers on both hands. We were all frozen in place, not sure what we were seeing or supposed to do. It stared at us without blinking. In one hand it carried a spear thicker than my arm. And then everything happened at once. The giant roared. It wasn't an animal sound, it was almost human, only louder than anything I'd ever heard. Then it charged. I've replayed the next few seconds 1,000 times, and they still don't seem real. It covered the distance faster than something that size should have been able to move. Our point man barely had time to shoulder his rifle before the spear drove straight through him, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. And I heard someone scream, and then someone opened fire. Then all of us did. The mountains exploded with rifle fire. Round after round slammed into the creature's chest, shoulders, and arms. It barely slowed down. This giant thing kept coming. It swung one massive arm, smashing one of my teammates into a boulder. Another soldier disappeared beneath a shower of flying rocks. I remember thinking one thing. We're all gonna die here. Someone yelled, "Head! Shoot the head!" Every rifle shifted upward. Hundreds of rounds hammered into its face and neck. The giant stumbled. It roared again, louder this time, and dropped to one knee. And we didn't stop shooting. More rounds struck its skull. Finally, impossibly, it crashed to the ground. The earth shook beneath my boots. Then there was silence. No one moved. No one spoke. All I could hear was my own breathing. The thing lying in front of us could not exist. Yet, there it was. Our radios crackled back to life. We reported contact, not with the enemy fighters, not with the Taliban. We didn't even know what words to use. Hours later, a heavy lift helicopter arrived. We were ordered away from the landing zone, while crews secured the body beneath the aircraft with cargo slings. Even from a distance, I could see how enormous it was hanging beneath the helicopter. It looked impossible. When we returned to base, we were separated and interviewed individually. Every detail was recorded, every weapon was inspected. Then came the order. What happened in those mountains never happened. We were told never to discuss it, never to write about it, never to acknowledge it. I've kept that promise for years, maybe because no one would believe me anyway. People ask whether monsters exist. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a monster. Maybe it was something ancient, something that had been hiding in those mountains long before First Armies marched through Afghanistan. All I know is this. We went into those mountains looking for one missing patrol. We came back with one less man, and answers that never came. The widely circulated Giant of Kandahar story is not a verified historical event. It comes primarily from interviews and retellings popularized by L.A. Marzulli, who said he was recounting testimony from anonymous military sources. No official U.S. military records have confirmed the incident, and many details have changed between versions over the years. The body was reportedly far too large to move by conventional means. A military helicopter was allegedly called in, and the giant's remains were attached beneath the aircraft in a cargo sling and flown away to an undisclosed location. The fallen soldier's body was recovered alongside it. According to those who have repeated the story over the years, every member of the team was immediately debriefed and ordered never to discuss the incident. The mission was allegedly classified, and no official reports acknowledging the encounter have ever surfaced. The story might have disappeared into military folklore if not for researcher L.A. Marzulli. Years later, Marzulli claimed he had interviewed individuals with military connections who described the incident in remarkable detail. His investigations brought the legend to a much wider audience, where it became known as the Giant of Kandahar. Supporters of the story point to an ancient account found in the Bible describing the Nephilim, the Rephaim, and other races of giants. They suggest the creature may have been one of the last surviving descendants of those ancient beings, hidden for centuries in the remote mountains of Afghanistan. Skeptics disagree. They note that no photographs, official military documents, flight records, or named eyewitnesses have ever verified the account. The U.S. military has consistently denied knowledge of such an incident, and many researchers believe the story is simply modern military folklore that grew with each retelling. So what really happened in those mountains? Was it a classified operation that can never be acknowledged? A misunderstood combat encounter transformed into legend? Or simply one of the most compelling military ghost stories ever told? No one knows for certain. But somewhere in the mountains of Kandahar, where caves disappear into the ancient earth and history stretches back thousands of years, the legend of the giant continues to grow. Whether fact, folklore, or something in between, it's a story that refuses to die. Thanks for listening to Scary But True Campfire Stories, presented by Dudes Camping. Narrated by Matthew S. Newbold. Do you have a story that needs to be told? Email us at dudescampingstories@gmail.com with your scary but true story, and we'll consider it for broadcast. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this story, and leave a comment. It really does help us out. Until next time, we will see you around the campfire.